The first thing we have to do with rescreening a patio door is we have to take the handle off. Once we get the handle off, then we can remove the rubber spline out of the channel and we can take the old fabric off. Once we get the old fabric off, we can roll out a new fabric, take the spline. We can generally reuse this old spline and we'll put it back into this screen and then we'll put the handle back on. So let's get started. Taking off these handles isn't all that challenging, but what can happen is if you use a cordless screwdriver, like a drill, you can tend to strip out the tip, or if you are putting the screw back in, then you can wind up putting it in too far and you end up breaking this plastic handle. So if you have a little screwdriver, that's always the best to use. Next thing we need to do is we need to remove this spline. Now it can be challenging because you want to be able to get in there and the best thing I have found is either a needle nose plier or a little tiny screwdriver. And this little tiny screwdriver, you just get in there and you get that spline pulled out. And then we need to roll out a new fabric. So this looks like it'll be a 32 inch. So I'll go ahead and use my 32 inch roll. Now, some of the tools that we use for today is a little screwdriver, my spline roller, razor knife, and a pair of scissors. The spline roller and the fabric you can get at any Lowe's or Home Depot, but often if you just look in Google or other search engines, you can find places that will sell fabric, or they'll even sell kits so that you can buy a kit and make your own screens. And that will be another show. Now we'll take our spline. Doors are a little bit more challenging than windows because they're so long. So first, I start with putting the spline into the edge. And since this came from this screen, we already know it's the right size. These splines come in different thicknesses, and so you want to make sure that you get the right spline for the right metal. Next thing we need to do is create a little bit of tension on the screen. So I pull it and I pull it with my fingers and I hold the spline and I hold the fabric. And then I do the same on the end. One of the things to be very careful of is when you roller in this, you don't hit this out inside edge, otherwise you tear the screen fabric. The next thing you want to make sure is you want to make sure that it's square. If it's not square, you're going to end up with a pucker in the screen, and that's not a good thing. The way I make sure it's square is I'll pull it tight against the parallel frame and I'll make sure I don't have any puckers in the middle here. As long as that stays square, we're going to be okay. Then I just go around and do the rest of the screen. Again, pulling a little bit of tension, not a lot, just a little bit of tension to keep this nice and smooth. again, I'm creating tension, just enough to keep it from puckering. Okay, so as you can see, it's nice and tight right here, but then once we get to about the middle, I've got this loose piece. So what many people would think they would do is have to pull the whole spline out. But if you just pull this section up and then draw a little bit of tension on it, we're able to get that out. So what I do is I'll feel with my hand if it's nice and taut, and then another loose section right here. So we'll want to get this pulled out. Just putting a little bit of tension with my fingers. And then right here as well. Like I said earlier, doors are a little more challenging than windows. Sometimes it looks pretty easy, but it takes a little bit of practice. And this very last spot we have a pucker, so I'll just pull that out. Get rid of that. So there you have it. There's our screen. Looks like we have a little bit of a spot right here, but I think all in all it's going to be a good fit. Next thing we need to do is we need to trim it. So I take the spline and then that little screwdriver that I had earlier, I'll push it down the spline into the corners. So we want to trim this spline and push it down. That way we don't have it coming out. And then we also go to this outside edge. One of the things to be very careful of is that you don't angle the razor knife so that it cuts the fabric that you want to keep. Only want to cut the fabric to remove. Next, we're going to put the handle back on. Now, one of the things that I like to do since we have this down now is I like to take some silicone lubricant. And you can use a Teflon spray or a silicone spray. And I like to get these wheels lubricated up. Since we have it down, it's good to maintain these. Otherwise, these can get full of grime, pet hair, dirt, bugs. I've seen wasp nests in them. So get these lubed up. Make sure they're all spinning. Sometimes they'll be broken. You can get extra wheels from a Home Depot or Lowe's as well, or even a screen supply store. And there you have it. One patio screen door. Took about 12 minutes or so, I think. And that's a do-it-yourself project that you can do at home.